Welcome to the Rise Up Show. This is episode 140, and today I'm hosting Dan. He's an international coach and a speaker and up-and-coming author of the book called Reflection, Transformation, The Secrets to Creating the Ultimate Entrepreneur Lifestyle. He initially became heavyweight interior design. He was a world record DJ and international all over the place. They talk about him in the UK. And today he went from being the DJ and all that he'd been through to a business owner and investor. Along his way, he struggled with restarting his business, and after failing on enormous occasions before succeeding and becoming what he is today. And he also speaking on stages alongside people like Eric Haw, Armin Morin, and I hope I pronounced it right, Shin She, about what transformation makes possible for entrepreneurs. So please welcome Dan. Hey Dan, how are you today?
I'm brilliant. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Great to meet you, man. And please tell us and the audience, tell us the short version on who you are.
The short version of who I am is somebody who, as a child, was born, went and made a complete mess of his life, went off the rails, was bullied at school. By the age of 21, was dealing with mental imbalance to the point that I couldn't even function in society. To then having attempted to succeed and then fail in so many businesses, to then becoming bankrupt nearly twice by the time I was 30, to then having completed over 200 courses in self-development, transformational work, even became a Tai Chi master along the way as well, studying ancient philosophy, ancient literature, all in an attempt to try and find this balance of life and the key to actually succeeding in creating and living a life I love. And that brought me to where I am now.
Wow, it sounds like you've been through a lot along the years.
I don't think anybody has an easy journey. I think life is very much a play of light and dark, that we must all travel through darkness to experience the wonder of light, and we have experiences of light that give us the contrast to the experiences of the dark. I don't think anybody's journey is any different, and you know, and I don't feel to say that my life has been particularly difficult or hard, though other people might say it looks like it has been, you know?
Yeah. Because you look at it today and you see the past as the past, and you don't live the past. You live the now, and not the future, not the past. That's what's most important. A lot of people stay stuck in the past, and that's where they can't progress. They stay in the dark time.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people that hit hardships and hard time just get left in this place of anger and blaming the world and blaming their family and blaming money and the system and all sorts of things like that, and get left spinning in that blame instead of getting the divine teachings that are to be had from times like that, and then awaken and rise out of them. So I think a lot of people do stay on that plane.
And they just need to go on the now and not stay in the back. And you're right, people have been more, there are journeys, different stories to everybody. Some have more rough, some have less, but it doesn't matter if it's less or not, because everybody experiences it differently. You can experience the same thing, but the other person, it will be rough for him, and for you, it will be easy peasy. So, like you said, you've been through, and that's amazing what you have accomplished until now. And I'm sure that you will keep on growing. And can you maybe tell our audience maybe something to get out from the past, to be living in the now?
Well, the past is only ever a mental construct of what we invented in that moment, then repeated as an experience now. That's all the past is.
True.
And if we can awaken to the way our mind works, to being able to see how something happens and then it goes and makes it mean something. Something happens, it goes and makes it mean something. And that the brain is doing that all the time. And once we become aware of it, we realize that all our memory is simply a mental construct of everything that's happened in the past that actually has no weight, no value, no power over us whatsoever in this moment now. And that we each have the freedom to respond in whichever way we choose, regardless of what's happened to us in the past.
You're damn right.
But to do that is easier said than said. You know, I experienced a lot of suffering, a lot of territorialism, a lot of jealousy towards others being successful. I always felt like the economy was really hard on me and life was unfair. But all these things were an experience that was the byproduct of how I viewed myself in the world, that I didn't realize was my view of myself in the world.
Yeah.
And
because when you're there, you don't notice it. When you're in it.
That's right. It's just the world really is that way. The world really is unfair. The world really is impossible. The world really is that difficult. And I really do have no reason to be happy. That's how the world actually is when we experience it based on our past, which is, again, only these mental constructs of what we've invented the world is and isn't from past events. So, for instance, there's 3 key events that happened to me in my life that I've only become aware of being key events in my life through awakening to the power of the mind and how it brought me on these merry-go-rounds and roller coasters of suffering that were just completely unnecessary. Wow. So what happened was, through deeper coaching, I was brought back to an event when I was 6 years old. And I was 6, my brother at the time was 4. We were jumping from one sofa to another, playing as children. I jumped, my brother jumped after me. He didn't make the jump to the next sofa, and he hit his face on the edge of the wooden armrest of a sofa, and he knocked the tooth out, and he started screaming and screaming and screaming. And my mother ran in and said, "What's happening?" And she picked him up, and she ran in, and she got like a kitchen tea cloth, and she was holding it around his mouth as he was bleeding so much. And she was rocking backwards and forwards on the sofa, wondering, what do I do? What do I do? He's in so much pain and screaming, and she didn't know how bad it was. And in that moment, I was standing there, and I felt like it was totally my fault what's just happened. And I felt really bad at what I'd done. And as I felt this guilt of what I'd done, I got this experience that my mum hadn't noticed what I was feeling and what I was going through in the situation and in the moment.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, my brain interpreted the event as I'm not noticed. And so my experience was, from that moment on, was that I'm not noticed. That no matter what I do, however hard I try, however much I succeed, I'm just never noticed. And so there was this constant feeling of I'd have to struggle and strive and do whatever I needed to become noticed. But that however much I succeeded in whatever I did, I never got the satisfaction of being acknowledged or witnessed or seen for my gifts or my expression or my comment or my contribution to a conversation.
Wow.
Whatever anybody said, even if somebody said, "Wow, that's great, that's a great insight," I would think, "What are you saying that for?" I wouldn't see it, just couldn't see it.
Yeah.
My world was I'm not noticed. So that was one of 3 big breakthroughs, was awakening out of that. But that was an amorphosis of the interpretation that was leading me before then. And that happened when I was 3 years old. So wow. I was...
And you will remember it. Amazing.
Yeah, well, this has been a lot of intense looking and viewing and reflection and coaching conversations to bring these things up. I was in a double push pram. So my mum was pushing us along, and I was sat in one and I was sat in the other. And my mother stopped, went into a shop, went in to buy something, and she came out and put my hands up so she could give me what she bought. And she seemingly ignored me and gave it to my brother. My brother got all the love and attention in that moment and ruined my life. So to get my revenge, I leant over and I bit his ear. He screamed out crying and crying and crying. And so, you know, my father saw this and he runs over to me. He says, no, you mustn't do that. He's your brother. You must love your brother. And in that moment, my brother was then getting even more attention from my mum saying, there, now, you'll be okay. And I'm getting shouted at and everybody's staring at me. So in that moment, my brain interpreted the world as, I'm just not good enough. Nobody wants me. And that then later became the next event, only proved it. But the new interpretation was that I'm not noticed. But then there was another event that happened to me when I was even younger. In fact, I'd just been born. And I remembered lying there and seeing square tiles on a ceiling. And I said to my mum, I've just seen these memories come to me. What happened at my birth? Was my birth an easy birth? Was it traumatic? What happened? And she said, oh, you were the first child I gave birth to. And yeah, like, I remember your shoulders were very hard to kind of give birth to, that part of your body. But then after that, it was quite easy. And she said, I remember that it was 10:30 at night and all the cafes had just closed. So I couldn't even get a cup of tea or a coffee after that. And then, I said, what happened to me after the birth? She said, oh, it was quite simple. In those days, you were just picked up by the maid. You had your umbilical cord up. You were wrapped up. And you were taken away. And I obviously, I just fell asleep from exhaustion. And I said, so what happened to me in that night? She said, I don't know. You'd have been kept somewhere else. I said, where? And she said, well, in those days, you were kept in like a little sort of perspex box, wrapped, cleaned up and left there for the night. And I said, so you mean I didn't see you after I'm born? After I was born, I then didn't see you until the next morning. And she said, yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And so I thought, that's interesting. So all night, first I'm in this place that's really cozy. And then next thing I know, wow, I'm out in this world and I'm getting all these sensations that must have been really intense. And then the thing that had me feel safe and connected and human, such as a heartbeat and the warmth, was taken away from me. And then I'm in this place with no human beings for a long length of time. Piecing it together, I realized that I'd interpreted that as I'm abandoned.
Ooh, that's hard.
And so first was I'm abandoned just after I was born. Then after 3 was I'm just not good enough, nobody wants me. And then at the age of 6, it was I'm not noticed. And so each time I had these coaching conversations that brought me back to these events, I got to realize the interpretation. In other words, to realize who invented it. I invented it. Got it. Is it true? No, of course it's not true. I was just my view of the world, but it doesn't mean that's how the world actually is.
Just in your head, yeah.
That's right. And then after that, well, do you need to be that way anymore? Well, no, I don't need to be that. And so each time there was like this cathartic awakening and ease and like a relaxation of shoulders and chest, relaxing open and being able to breathe like I could never breathe before. And this whole like relaxation and waves of bliss and ease where I didn't have to be not abandoned. And then whole new waves of relaxation and freedom where I realized I didn't have to be good enough, you know, in the eyes of others. And that finally I didn't have to be noticed because I'm not noticed to begin with. Yeah. And so each of these layers were profound transformations in the way my brain had created this illusion called life, called being human, called being Daniel Warburton. And it was like, you imagine a pack of cards that you get the cards and you lay them all together to create a castle made of cards.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Each time, it's like pulling one of the cards out from the bottom.
Then the whole thing fall apart.
The whole lot collapses because being, for instance, I'm just not good enough, nobody wants me, was in how I would say my name. It was in how I would dress. It was in how I thought my dad needed me to be on, and for me to survive the situation with my dad, with my father. It was in the way I would attend an interview. It was in the way I would ask somebody out on a date. It was in the way I would order food. It was in the way I would walk. It was in the way that I totally perceived and saw the whole of life through as a reality of the way the world actually was and wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So when you pull that out, it's like, why do I even need to wake up today? Why do I need to work? Why do I need money? Because the reason for money was to have people see that I'm good enough and wanted, right? Yeah. If I have that complete sole objective of my life taken away from me, well, now what?
Was your whole existence? Yeah.
Well, that's why. What do I need to do now? What's needed of me? What's my purpose? So each time there's this whole like collapsing of the cards and then the recreating of a new me. It was doing that and experiencing that on those 3 occasions profoundly, but also on many, many new levels and layers of other transformations in between.
Wow.
And so that's now brought me to practicing awareness of what happened, what was the thought process, how can I do it again? What happened to me? What was the thought process? How can I do it again? And the fascination of what happened to me has brought me to the point now where I've created a transformational process in language that I can take people through that enables them to distinguish what are the primary disempowering interpretations that they have of themselves in the world that's stopping them from powerfully creating and living that life that they love. And then enabling them to become aware of it, transform it, get that it's not true, you don't need to be that way anymore, breaking out of it, and then take a completely new way of being that hasn't taken new actions and access a completely new future that was far beyond what they imagined was possible for them.
Wow.
And so
I love
it. And so now I've got to the point where I've got a website full of testimonials. It goes on and on and on from people saying that I've just never been the same again. And most of those were one conversation.
And it all starts when you were a baby and you didn't even notice it until you had that learning and really came through with our awareness all around it, with a lot of coaching along the way. Because who remembers something that we just burned? Who can remember that? It is in our memory somewhere in our memory lane, but we have to awaken it. And those actually limiting belief that you had, even since you were a baby, that's astonishing that you even became aware of that. Well, I'm sure it was a lot of practice and a lot of coaching and mentoring, and that's amazing where you break that through. So when you make that breakthrough, how did it help you to go and establish your business, and why did you start even with business?
Well, it's like when I was I'm just not good enough, nobody wants me, I was more determined about impressing people, about having people think well of me, avoiding failure at all costs, but also making sure I didn't succeed at all costs. Because if I succeeded, I couldn't maintain the level of performance possibly that's required to maintain that success. And then I'd end up failing, hitting the ground, and I would look even worse in other people's eyes. So what I've learned was that way of being was the thing that had me both be as determined as I was, that had me excel and succeed to the level that I did in different things, but it also stopped me ever going past a certain level of success. So once I wasn't run by having to have people be impressed, once I got to the point where I didn't care what people thought, it didn't matter if I failed, I then just started taking action. and being consistent to get the results that was actually required. Instead of beginning to get results and then thinking, oh, I better stop there, or I might fail, let me go and do something that's a bit easier. I didn't do that. Once I chose something, I took action, announced myself what I do, what I specialize in, and what I'm committed to enabling in others. Then telling people, making an offer, giving them a price, doing whatever it took to deliver that good or that service. And then doing it again, 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 even when I didn't feel like it, even when I felt tired, even when I was scared about messing up, even when I was scared about it not going to plan, even when I was scared about people not liking me, my mum and dad not approving, friends not approving, whatever it was like consistent. And I could only do that when I'd unlearned all that nonsense and noise about myself that caused me to feel so emotional, that the emotions caused me to hit this brick wall of I can't go through that emotion. I can't go through these circumstances that causing me to feel that emotion. Now I don't have the emotion as intensely. And the other 50% is an awareness of the cause of the emotions, has me say, it's just internal noise, keep going.
Wow. That's amazing that you kept on breaking walls, kept on working with all those limiting beliefs. You just didn't give up, and you being consistent. That showed the power of consistency. And that's amazing. And what you said before, that you are also feared from success, but you also break that limiting belief because you wanted to succeed, but there was something that stopped you. There's a nice phrase, I don't remember who was it that said that we are not afraid from the dark, we are afraid from our light, from our success. That's what's frightening us the most. But you kept on going no matter what. That's amazing, man. How did you keep momentum and being the best version of yourself through all that?
I can only put it down to this deep calling within me to live the most spectacular life a human being can possibly live, on every level, from health, from relationships and finances, and to choose that with so much passion that until it's fulfilled and realized, my work is not done. But not only does it need to be realized, it must be realized and shared and enabled with the rest of humanity to awaken to its potential for them as well.
Wow.
It's like I've got this thing called life. I'm being given this opportunity of expressing who I am, or divine intelligence that flows through me, and I am it and it is me and we are one, if we were to go a bit deep. That I've got this opportunity of being the space for that, and that I've got the opportunity of creating the most spectacular painting called human life. That how dare I not fulfill that potential? It's like, and if I don't, there will be a life where there will be a point in my life where one day I'll feel deep regret that I didn't just say yes, that I didn't just play full out every minute of my life, eyes wide open to appreciate every single detail, from the fabric of these curtains right now, the texture of my mobile phone, and all the engineering and the ingenuity that all the human beings have gone into creating it and the joy of using it, to my camera, to speaking to you right now, to being in a wonderful, loving relationship with my partner, to the opportunity to just breathe in this moment, to experience life in its wholeness, and to give myself to it in total commitment, just seems like the greatest sacrilege there is to this opportunity that we call life.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. The appreciation and the gratitude, that's what help us to really keep on moving forward. Just like you said, because if we don't appreciate, For example, you said about the texture. There are people that can't feel the texture. There are people that can hear or see or walk, and we don't appreciate what we have right now. So why not use it? Because a lot of people, when we get to be 80, 90, let's say 100,
Yeah.
you won't say you won't look about the things that you have accomplished most of the time. You will look about what you didn't do, what you
Yeah.
regret the most.
Yeah, totally. And I've heard that the two questions that are most commonly asked by human beings to themselves at the point that they're about to die is, have I lived and have I loved? And all ambition, all determination, all that drive within us is ever made of, from where I can see, is a mixture of two things. You could call it the carrot and the stick. You have a donkey. One is the stick that hits it up the arse, the bum, that gets it moving forward. The other one is the carrot held with a bit of string that you hold in front of its mouth, and the carrot and the donkey is ever moving forward to try and get hold of the carrot. And that, as a human being, the equivalent is, the stick is the fear of regret, the fear of never having lived, the missing opportunities, the never having so much money that you don't know what to do with it, the never having created that place that you call home, that just really resonates with you. And it doesn't need to be an extraordinary lifestyle, whatever that version is for you. The freedom to be able to walk along the Ganges in India on your own in complete freedom. It could be something as small as that. To being able to be just healthy, to have your heart beat well, your digestive system work well, and to be in that optimum balanced health, to enjoy your children, your wife, and your family. The regret of not having that is the stick. Versus on the other side, you've got things like the feelings, the wonderful feelings of being alive, of waking up feeling fulfilled, of feeling like you've been of purpose to the world, of feeling like you belong, and that you look, the ability to look back on your life and to say, I lived, I loved, you know? So I think it's a balance between those fears, which I would say are, in many ways, are healthy fears. They need to be grounded, you know?
Fear is not a bad thing, as most people think. And
which we could just call awareness of what could happen unless you do stay in action and you don't take care of yourself, versus what is possible and the wonder of life. And getting those two in balance and keeping a constant awareness of those is the petrol in your engine, your body, that you're just going and going and going and going, you know?
I love how you put it with the donkey and the stick and the carrot. That's amazing. And what you said about the fears, because like we said, fears are not so bad thing as we think about it, because as you know, when ancient time, that fear came from a real solid thing, an animal that can eat you, or that you can fall off a cliff or something that there. So it says, whoa, be careful, something is going to eat you right now. But today it becomes something like not a real thing. That fear, if it won't put you on the street, it won't harm you, it won't kill you. It's just there to say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? That's the fear. It's exactly like when you're standing on a cliff and you decide to jump. Now, if you're with a parachute, you say, yeah, I won't die. So, you know, you have the parachute and you jump. But if you don't have a parachute and you jump, probably you will die. So that's what fear is. It's just say, whoa, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to make that breakthrough? Are you sure you want to go and succeed? That's the only thing. And those limiting beliefs you mentioned a lot, those that you break through, it was an amazing journey, and you break through without even, I'm sure you had a lot of doubts and you fall down a lot of time, but you kept on going, kept on the biggest, no matter what, you kept on going. No matter what, you kept on walking, even if you fail. I mean, you mentioned that at the first that you have some businesses that you fail. We all fail, but those mistakes are given the best lesson. Our past is our greatest asset. And I want to ask you, what was your biggest struggle that you experienced, and how did you overcome it? How did you break through it?
I would say, actually, the hardest time of my life was probably when I was 20, 21, when I'd had I'd got into drugs, and I'd taken a lot of drugs, and it wasn't anything addictive, but it was like LSD, very psychoactive drugs, staying awake for long periods of time. And in the end, my brain couldn't handle it, and it shut down. And I actually woke up in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up out of.
Yeah.
And I was locked in that for like 2-3 months. And usually I don't share this because most people's minds and brains can't handle it, and they don't want to know more. They don't want to talk about it. However, I've got to a point where I realized that I was the creator of that, because that mental instability, all it was the I'm just not good enough, nobody wants me, and I'm not noticed, and I'm abandoned, that had built itself and got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and become so big that I needed more and more attention to survive the world in it. And the more attention I tried to get, the more annoying I'd be to people, the more loud I'd be to people. So then the less they would listen, the more they would blank me out. So the more I'd have to get more attention. Mix that with taking the drugs to try and get time out of a world that was just so complicated and impossible that nobody ever noticed me or saw I was good enough. Amalgamated in me having that mental crash.
Mm-hmm.
As I then rebalanced from that, like that kind of phase of those mental breakdowns and then rebalancing, and then mental breakdowns, rebalancing, lasted about 4 years till I was about 24.
Wow.
And then I began to balance out, and then that's when my self-development started, asking questions like, why is my life so difficult? Like, what's going on with me? And so I then got to unlearn these interpretations, and that's how powerful and out of hand they get. And now I've now come to find that all mental imbalance is only ever a disempowering view of ourselves in the world. And it morphs and changes shapes and adds to itself, and it becomes a personality that then starts to dominate us. And then that's when you hear like split personalities you hear in people. All it is an identity that it thinks is something that gets that we then fear so much, it just overtakes us. But what happened was, it got to a point where I'd rebalanced and I was good, and I was out there knocking on doors, introducing myself as Super Dan the handyman, and getting works for painting and decorating and little jobs. But what had happened was, at that time, I was in a relationship. I was engaged to be married. And the girl I was engaged to be married with at the time said, I just don't feel it anymore. You need to move out. And I was, for the first time, alone in this tiny little flat. And I had no work opportunities. And there was one person that I wanted to make proud my whole life. And that was my father. So he was the last person I wanted to say, Dad, I'm in a difficult situation. I need your help. But he was also the last person, the only person I had that I could call. Mm-hmm. So I had the courage to pick up the phone. And in that phone call, he said, no, sunshine. No, there's nothing. I'm not going to do anything for you. Enough's enough.
Wow.
You got to find your own way now. And he put the phone down. And what happened was, all my nightmares and all my mental breakdowns and all of that came back up to life again. And I felt that I had no control over my life. I had no control over my mind. I had no control over my future. I had no control over even my actions to some extent. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was curled up in the corner of my flat, holding my knees, rocking backwards and forwards in just tears, wondering, what am I going to do? All my friends had gone on holiday. I didn't have anyone else I could call. And I was very lost and very scared and very frightened. And And what happened was that the panic started to rise up through me again. I could sense the panic attacks, and the fear was starting to grip me and pull me under. And so I went to the doctors to go and get some kind of mind-numbing pills, prescriptions.
The worst thing to do, yeah.
And I just wanted to drug myself up, basically.
Makes sense.
But at the same time, I didn't want the doctor to know that I was unbalanced, because I didn't want them to look at me and go, you've got problems, you have. Because if he then said that to me, that was going to frighten me even more. So I had to just breathe and say, I'm feeling rather unbalanced these days, and I could do with some kind of medication that would help me rebalance. So of course it was held with decorum and well-spoken and eloquent. So he looked at me as if to say, there's nothing wrong with you. And I was saying to him, oh yes, there is. I need something. I'm not sleeping very well. He said, look, I'm going to give you 10 temazepam.
Okay.
But let me be true. He said, let me be honest with you. By the time you take the 5th one, it will start wearing off. And they just don't work. They wear off. So I said, okay, well, that'd be great. That'll just get me through this. Just go through a difficult time, emotional breakup and things like that. So I took the 1st one. I went to sleep. The next night, took the 2nd one, helped me sleep. By about the 5th one, I noticed they weren't working because I'd got into meditating. And I'd been meditating for about 3 months before this event. So what happened was, when I was lying in bed, I could hear my every thought. You can't do it. You're going to fail. You won't succeed. And it got to the point where I was looking at these last 3 pills, and I opened the kitchen cupboard and I put them in the kitchen cupboard and I closed the door. And there I was on my own. And I went up to the light switch, took a breath, and just switched the light off. And there I was, alone in the dark. And I just lied down in bed. And it was like lying down in all my fears. And as I lied there in all my fears and hearing all my voices and all my doubt and all my fears, I'd learned to just breathe and keep thinking about your breathing. Keep thinking about your breathing. And I'd managed to basically just be okay with insomnia. Be okay with all my fears and just keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. Mm-hmm. And then about the 3rd or 4th night in of this, I realized all of a sudden I heard my voice say, Dan, you haven't actually had a panic attack. You're going to be okay. Like, you're getting up each day and you're knocking on more doors and introducing yourself as Super Dan the Handyman. And then you're going to bed and lying there and just breathe, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. And then you're waking up in the morning after, when you finally fall asleep. Because at some point, I would just notice sunlight streaming in through the windows. And I realized, I must have fallen asleep. I got some hours sleep. So then in the end, people say, I've got a job for you. So then I started repairing a little bit of wood or doing a little bit of decorating. And I did all this on a motorbike. And in the end, I had money for the first time, not from my dad, not from the system. I wasn't relying on anyone. I, myself, in the darkness, was being in action, being in action, being in action. Breathe through the fear. And next door, knock on it. Show up powerfully. Leave a flyer. Next door, breathe. Knock on the door. Carry on going.
And repeat.
And repeat. And there was a moment when I was in this little flat and the sunlight was streaming in through my little skylight window. And I opened the drawer next to my cabinet, in the cabinet next to where my laptop was. And I used to just kind of sit back and look up through this window and I could see the moonlight at night. But this was during the day when the sun was shining. And I opened this drawer and all the way from the left, all the way to the right, it was solid with money that I'd earned myself.
Wow.
And I remember taking a shower, putting on my favorite leather jacket, and the sun was starting to set. And I took out 2 20-pound notes. That's about $30 US. I'm putting it in my wallet, walking into town to go and drink a couple of beers with some friends and feeling like I need nothing and I need no one. I've done this. And if I've done it this time, I can do it again and again and again. And that was the beginning of the success that now I'm enjoying now in my life.
Wow. First of all, I really want to say thank you for sharing this. I'm sure that took some courage to share with us what happened to you with all the drugs and everything. But you share that, and taking drugs and everything, like you said, it's just running away from the reality. But you made it through, and then you may start to make some success. You start to earn by yourself, and even though what the bad things that happened to you actually made you stronger. When your dad said, "That's it, no more, you won't get anything," yeah, you got into a really bad place, but also that's what kept you going. If you said, "Okay, I will help you with all that money," you will never get where you are. That's for sure. So those places, those dark moments, we need to take it as an asset and grow from it. And I really love how you put it that way. That's amazing what you've been through. And really, again, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah, my biggest realization is that the cure of fear is to run at fear. That what run at fear. That what most of us do is when we start to feel fearful, we do whatever we can to feel more comfortable, to feel safer. We reach for alcohol, a cigarette, drugs, whatever it is, a relationship that's completely useless, but yet gives us a feeling of feeling safe and in a routine, in a job that we don't enjoy. Settling for second best, all to have that safety. And the more we chase safety, the more we chase being comfortable, the louder things that caused us discomfort ever become. And they end up so loud that the only way is we have to numb ourselves even harder. Even more drugs, even more food, even more useless relationships, even more unfulfilling jobs, even more money just sitting in our bank accounts to have us feel what we need to feel safe. And I've learned that the mastery is to run at fear. If somebody says, "How would you like to do this? How would you like to come with us and climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa? How would you like to do a bungee jump? How would you like to learn how to set up and grow your own business? Why don't you leave the job that you're in now and go and get a job that will actually make you happy and forget about the money?" All these things are the things that have us really hit that fear, that the cure of the fear is to grit our teeth and run at it. Literally to run at the fear. And as we run at the fear, what caused us to fear just dissipates very quickly. What we think is a brick wall of terror, as soon as we make the choice to move through it, we discover it's a very, very thin veil. And it just lifts and dissipates. And so once we do that once, wow, we can do that again and again and again. And life becomes really, really fun. Really fun.
Because then you see it's not so bad. This fear is not so bad. And getting out from the comfort zone is the worst place to be in. The worst place. We get us stuck for years. And like you said, we run for drinks, we run for drugs, whatever that we don't want to feel that pain. We don't want to feel that horrible fear. But actually this pain can make us stronger and stronger and stronger if we learn from it.
It's almost like the allowing us to feel the pain is what causes us to not fear the pain. It's like underneath everything is actually, underneath all discomfort and all fear is actually a deep sadness.
I remember I got injured 9 years ago in the army, and I got a CRPS that's called chronic pain syndrome. But basically, it caused pain to the leg, in the section in the leg, in the foot. And for years, I was afraid to go outside because I was afraid from the pain, that if someone
Wow.
will walk through and touch it, what will happen if someone will follow me? And I got into this terror, fear, like you said, just for going outside. And I also was so fearful of the pain that I didn't want to even put a sock or a shoe. And it took me some years to get that, but I'm still progressing. I'm with a shoe, with a sock right now, and I'm start to walk. But this pain was made me. I let it for years to put me in the safe spot inside the house, inside this cubicle, without getting outside, which was getting more fear, more shit going on. And just when I came outside, I saw that it's not so terrible. It's not so bad as we think it is. Like you said, a veil that we just need to break through. It's only a veil.
Yeah.
It's not such a big wall as people think it is.
Brilliant.
Can you share with us some inspiring moment you have with a client?
Oh, wow. I have so many of those. Last Saturday, I had an event where one young lady had experienced her whole life where she felt that she was never taken seriously by anyone. And she was in a corporate position where she was leading a team of people, but she felt that whenever she made a request of them, they would never listen. They just wouldn't take her seriously. In taking her through my transformational work, I enabled her to distinguish how she viewed herself and the world, and that it wasn't true. You know, and these interpretations my clients have are things like, I'm not good enough is a classic one. That's the most common one.
Yeah.
I'm not loved. I'm not wanted. I don't fit in. I'm short. I'm weak. I don't belong here. I'm invisible, and everything in between. And once she saw this interpretation, she saw that what she'd been doing is that she hadn't set boundaries as to how she chose to be treated by others, and then wasn't honoring them or voicing them. So it meant that she was just letting herself be bullied around, walked all over like a doormat. After this, she then said to her boss, you don't need to raise your voice to me. If you make a request of me, simply ask it clearly. If I don't understand it, I will say I don't understand it. Do I make myself clear? And that he was taken, like, he couldn't believe how she was with him the day after she'd had this breakthrough with me in this conversation. And that after then, she went from attempting to be the manager of a team of 6 to leading the team of 6 people into achieving the highest performance targets that the team of 6 people had in the company for about 3 years.
Wow.
So he built up a property investment business very slowly over 10 years. And all he'd ever wanted to do was travel across South America and to see the place of the Incas and the Aztecs.
Yeah.
We began working together, and on the second session, he distinguished an event that happened to him when he was 7 years old, where his mum had flown back with him back to India for the first time to meet the rest of his family. He was there in India, and he said to his mum, "Mum, where's the toilet?" And she said, "It's this way, darling." So he followed her, and she stopped. And he said, "Mum, where is the toilet?" And she said, "That is the toilet." And he said that it was just this like wall with these dividers down it, the holes in the ground, people taking their trousers down and squatting over the holes, taking their turn with everybody watching. And being in England, we always sit on the toilet behind a closed door. You know, it was very much a shock to him. So he hid behind his mum, and in that moment he was thinking, I'm not safe. I'm not safe. So what had happened was he built his whole life around making sure that he was going to be safe. So it meant that he was controlling everything. He was doing all the phone calls. He was doing all his own decorating in his houses. He was trying to find the tenants. He was doing all the management. He was doing all the contracts. And it meant that he could never leave his work. He felt that he always had to do something in his company. He couldn't ever just do nothing. Because if he did nothing, it could fall apart, not work, and then he would be not safe. So he meant he was in like controlling everything. But once he got that, he was able to give up controlling. And once he gave up controlling all of that, he then just asked new questions such as, well, what do I want? What if I didn't have to control my business? What would I do? And then he realized, well, I would systemize my business, get a team of people organizing, running it, and then I could just go traveling and I could go to South America. Yeah. And within 3 months, he booked his flight to South America and had left. He wanted this for 10 years. Within 3 months, he left for South America. He went right off into the Amazon, completely off the beaten track. He ended up finding ancient ruins that weren't even spoken or written about in newspapers. And then after that, he connected with other travelers who invited him to then travel across and climb Mountain Kilimanjaro in Africa. Ooh. So then after 6 weeks of doing that, he landed, packed his bags, made some phone calls, closed some more business deals, set his team up, and then left and climbed Mountain Kilimanjaro. And I've got this photo of him standing on the top of Mountain Kilimanjaro. Like, nothing can stop him. And his life now is he just travels the whole of his life. And that's like 2 stories. Another one was a lady called Vigyana. She was a yoga teacher that didn't feel she was impacting the world effectively. We began working together, and in that session, she realized that what she wanted to have was her own fashion label to create clothing for people in the yoga industry that love yoga. Mm-hmm. So we began working together, and she transformed these ideas of I'm alone that were holding her back, that were created from an event around her family when she was told off. She didn't need to be, I'm going to be alone, and she could just be straight with people, make powerful choices. And as a result, she went and created a yoga brand, a yoga lifestyle clothing brand called Yoganica.
Nice.
Got a designer, got a tailor together, and then ended up traveling to Portugal all the way from Sweden. She met manufacturers out there. She got all the pricings, and now she's in the final talks with a banker in England that's going to invest hundreds of thousands into her and her business and her brand to make it become a revolutionary international company that's also going to create jobs for people in the Far East so that people that haven't got jobs can have jobs to earn good money. So then she can impact all their lives whilst creating this organic yoga lifestyle clothing brand as well and elevating her life to the next level. So that's all happened in less than 6 months for her as well.
That's amazing. You know, it sounds kind of familiar, like with Phil Knight, what happened with him, that he started traveling and then go from tailor to tailor until he got his company all up, Nike.
Oh, right.
Let's hope she will get that as well.
Yeah. Well, we're in contact, and she said she wants to continue coaching with me again in the next month or two, get to the next level.
Maybe she will be the next Nike for yoga.
Who knows, right? But yeah, nice. So, you know, it's a great question. And that's, I go to bed every night with my heart full of hearing people break out of suffering and into realms of immense power in creation and lifestyle creation and living.
With a lot of purpose.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Can you share with us who inspired you to even start with all that?
Just being so unhappy in my life. Just being really unhappy in my life is the truth of it. You know, always struggling, always failing, always feeling like I never fitted in, like I didn't belong, like I didn't have a purpose, like I wasn't good enough, like I was no one. And it was that, and it was wanting to break out of that and to actually own and drive a Ferrari or a Lamborghini and to design and build a home overlooking the sea that I could have all my family and friends come over and stay at. And it's a mixture of all those things. Again, the carrot and the stick, the fear of the pain, the fear of wasting my life and waking up with regret, along with this deep calling and excitement of what is possible as a human being. That's just been the thing that has me just keep going the way I am now.
Wow. Damn, you inspired, your fears inspired you. That's amazing. Yeah. So we're coming to the end of the interview, and I want to ask you, if you can go back in time, what advice will you give to your younger self?
Get a coach.
Get a coach.
Yeah. Like, really, I've failed so many more times unnecessarily that I wouldn't have done had I had a coach and a mentor. I did not know how much more skilled we can be as human beings in creating our dream lifestyles when we're being coached by someone else that's done it.
Definitely. I can't agree more. I can't agree more, because that's so true. A lot of things happened when you get a mentor. I myself start developing when I got a mentor. So
yeah. And I wish that all that money that I lost on credit cards and trying to keep my business afloat, I wish I just spent it on a coaches and mentors.
I feel you on that.
And like, as you know, before this call, I was now speaking to somebody who's going to become a spiritual mentor, a spiritual guide. And now I've got Eric Hose becoming my entrepreneurial master, and my business partner is all multi-millionaires, and they're the people that I'm always finding out ways of spending time with and looking at creating collaborations with, and just to sit in a room with them. I wish I'd have known the power and the effectiveness of all this when I was younger, because I would have excelled and succeeded in ways even greater than I have already.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because when you have someone to guide you, and you surround yourself with successful people, you get all those tools, the energy, the mindset that you can get to a whole other places, and you start to really see some progress. Because the rule of 5, if you know, 5 people that surround us, that's the people that or can get us where we want to, or we will stay at the same place for years and years to come.
And it's one of my absolute favorite sayings by Jim Rohn: your life is the sum of the 5 people you most spend the time with.
The rule of 5. Jim Rohn.
And it's actually becoming so aware of that's caused me to pack my bags, sell everything I own, and leave with a suitcase from England and move to Singapore. To find those people to spend time with them. Yeah.
Drastic change.
If I'm not living that dream lifestyle right now, then there is only drastic change.
Definitely.
That's it.
Amazing. If you had one chance to deliver the one message that will stay written in history, what will it be?
It will be quite simply, dream the dream.
Dream the dream.
Firstly, dream the dream. Have the courage to dream the dream. Dream what an average day would look like for you if you were living your dream lifestyle. And let yourself dream, and make sure it has nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with reality. If a dream has something to do with reality, that's not a dream. That's a kind of settling for second best survival outcome.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is dream the dream, really dream the dream. Secondly, choose the dream.
Choose the dream.
Choose it. Actually choose to create that completely unrealistic outcome. Just choose it, however ridiculous it is. And then finally, live the dream. Actually be that future as a way of being now. Be now that future as if it's created. In other words, how do you need to be to create that future? You need to be unstoppable, alive, free, grateful, inspired, all those things. Be that today. That is living the dream. And then what happens is we then get to experience the phenomena of the universe, when no longer do we try to force ourselves to fit into the universe, but the universe starts to shape itself around us.
Definitely. Amazing and powerful. So Dan, can you share with us maybe some golden nugget for people to start breaking fears?
The only way to break fears is first choose what you want in your life. There is no fear to break until you choose what it is you want in your life. Whether it's just healthy, travel the world, become a millionaire, whatever it is, you've got to choose that. And then once you've chosen it, move towards it. As you move towards it, then you hit those fears. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. It won't happen. It's impossible. Who am I? I come from a little village. My parents don't have any money. We're all poor. How could I do it? And all those barriers, once you then come up against them, get in conversation with people that are successful already.
Yeah.
Don't get in conversation with people around those fears who are not successful, because they will say, well, of course you can't do it. Of course you can't succeed. Of course you're thinking too big. So that's what happens. And that's what happens to most people. So choose something, begin to move towards it. When you hit that fear, go and find somebody that's already succeeded in that thing that you want to succeed in. Even if you just begin by writing them an email, go and hear them speak on stage and go and speak to their staff members or the people around them. Do whatever it takes. Go and get a bank loan, go and get a credit card, pay whatever it takes to spend time with them to get those breakthroughs that you need to then succeed. That's what I'd say. Don't try doing it alone. Do not try doing it on your own, because you will get yourself down an absolute rabbit hole of illusion that will leave you wasting years and years and years of your life.
Years, money, and time is the most important thing, because time never comes back. Money comes, money goes, and comes more, but time disappears like that. And we should use it
in this form, in this being. I would say this is the only time with that we got. Yeah,
definitely. So, Dan, can you share with us how can people know more about you?
So, if any of you are inspired by what I've said, or you'd love to experience a transformational breakthrough and really experience what it's going to take for you to create and live your dream lifestyle, then you can go to my website, which is www.danwarburton.com. So that's danwarburton.com, and just apply for a complimentary coaching session. If your answers inspire me, then I could well give you my time away. But whatever happens, either apply there or send me a message. And more than anything, if you want constant inspiration and more thoughts that's going to make all the difference to you in your life, then just subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm running it like a literal TV station. Every day or 6 days a week, there's a publication that comes out, a video, to give daily inspiration that's going to really enable anybody that's committed to succeed to get them to the next level. And that's
awesome.
Again, just research, just go YouTube, Dan Warburton, you'll find me.
Awesome. I love that. By the way, I will put it in the description below, people. So just click and join Dan. If you like that interview, give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to get more tools to your arsenal. And again, Dan, really thank you for being here. I appreciate that you came here with all the knowledge that you got here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste.
And namaste. Have a great day, everybody, and a productive one.